Good afternoon, everyone, and very warm welcome to you. Our today's webinar focuses on the launch of the BrikkApp's UK and Ireland property crowdfunding report. Thank you very much for joining us today. Before we kick off, let's summarize for those of you who are not familiar with the Zoom webinar environment to enable you to get the most from us, the best experience with us. Within the bottom of your Zoom window, you can find two options to interact. You can either click to raise your hand to notify us or click on Q&A button and ask a question. We will be answering your questions after finishing every part of the webinar or during the Q&A session in the final part of the webinar. Your questions will not be visible to the other members of the audience before we start answering them. To make our session as interactive as possible, we will be opening polls during our session as well. In BrikkApp, we support our investors in creating wealth through regular investing with property crowdfunding. Today, we are going to focus on the UK and Irish market by launching our newest report created by our market research team. Let's start with the introductions first. Our session consists of three parts, and it will be covered by three speakers. My name is Jan Večerka, and I'm going to guide you through the first part of today's webinar. The second part, which will focus on the European property crowdfunding context, is going to be presented by our head of research, Josh Urban. And the third part of our session, the launch of the UK and Ireland property crowdfunding report, is going to be presented by Jana, our founder and CPO. So based on our research, three out of 5 Europeans do not invest regularly, which means that hundreds of millions of people in Europe do not invest. And what is more, that big number of people has never heard about real estate crowdfunding. And our mission in BrikkApp is to allow everyone to invest even from small amount of money to properties and bring this market to accessible to all. And to explore the market, we have created many tools. The most visible one is the crowd scanner, which allows everyone to compare the market, to find out what investment platforms are out there, and to start investing.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Josh Urban, and I am the head of market research here at BrikkApp. I'd like to thank all of you for attending. We are very excited to share with you our insights into the property crowdfunding market. At BrikkApp, we've focused primarily on the European market, and that is what I will be discussing with you today. For those of you a bit unfamiliar with this relatively new industry, property crowdfunding is when multiple investors combine their money together in order to finance and invest in real estate projects. This allows investors to access the property investment market, sometimes from amounts as low as €100. There are two primary types of investment in this market: lending-based or debt, and equity-based equity. At BrikkApp, we have researched over 177 property crowdfunding platforms on the European market. On those platforms, investors have already invested close to €7 billion in property projects over about the last decade. Investors provided funding for 13,500 projects located primarily in Europe, but also in the Americas and even in Asia. The average return for investors on these projects was approximately 9%. This provided comparable returns to the stock market over this period. The average amount raised per project is roughly €500,000. So that means a platform requests funding for this amount on average. At BrikkApp, we have categorized the European market into these 6 regions, primarily based on geography, language, and cultures. The largest amount of platforms are found in the DACH, UK and Ireland, and French and Benelux markets. When looking at the market by investment totals, the largest region is DACH, with almost 3 billion euros already invested. You might find it to be not surprising, as the DACH countries are also some of the wealthiest in Europe. Additionally, they tend to have larger investment projects, especially in Switzerland. To learn more about the property crowdfunding market, you can view our guide to real estate crowdfunding and our other market reports, and find more detailed information on BrikkApp.com.
Guiding us through the key insights into the European market. We really love always putting numbers into context, and this is what we've been doing here right now. So I will now have the great opportunity to guide you through our findings about the British and Irish market. Today at BrikkApp is a really exciting day for us because today we are launching the 2021 UK and Irish property crowdfunding report. So this is a report that we have been collecting data for over half a year, and we have analyzed, well, I cannot tell you how many, I will tell you in a second, but we have analyzed a lot of platforms. We have analyzed a lot of data, both in terms of the current and past year, and also historically. We now have the pleasure to share these key findings with you. So what we will do, we will go through the key financial numbers that we find are sort of, most appropriate for this format of event to be shared. But definitely keep in mind that in the report we have further details, furthermore detailed information. So today is about going through the let's say most exciting metrics together. When we say active platforms, we mean platforms that have open investments or that are still facilitating the investments in one way or another, right? Such as paying out, for example. So in the UK and Ireland, at the moment, there are 29 active property crowdfunding platforms. Here are the logos of all of them. I think some of you might be also from the platforms themselves, so you should be able to find yourselves in there. But these 29 platforms are those that are currently active. Now, what does that of course mean? There are also platforms that are not active. Now, when it comes down to our report, we are analyzing both. Because for us at BrikkApp, it's really crucial to have a full picture of the market, right? Everything that has been going on and that falls into the category of property crowdfunding. There are a number of reasons, right? Why platforms, can be operating for a certain period of time, why they might decide to stop operating. We feel that for the full and transparent picture or the full information about the market, it is crucial to have the information on both. So this is the list of the platforms that have been previously active. So it's 10 platforms that have been more or less successful, in some cases very successful in the past, but for a number of reasons have decided to close down. In some cases, that might be temporary. In some cases, that might be forever. But these 10 platforms, we do have limited information on them as well. We do note them and sort of, mention them in our report, but we don't go into the full, let's say, further analysis since they stopped being active. Now, part of the reason why some of the platforms have stopped being active in the past year are changes in regulation that have happened. So this is especially relevant to the British market, where the local regulator FCA has passed in summer 2020 further regulation regarding the regulation of the crowdfunding market. Now, the goal is to ensure further protection of consumers, to ensure better access to information and a greater transparency. Now, of course, all of these are noble goals, but in some cases, that might also mean that a specific platform is not anymore compliant and has to close down. So there are 4 platforms that have specifically stated that they have closed, and again, maybe forever, maybe temporarily, because of this FCA changes. So that's Colin, Crowdlords, Igloo Crowd, and Reality Bundles. So we think that these trends are very important to sort of see how the market is developing. Now, we have seen over the past decade that the market, not only, of course, in the UK, but worldwide and in any major territory, has matured a lot. This is still a fairly new investment option, but you can see here that between 2009 and 2021, there has been a sort of a trend towards more mature market, right? Not so many new platforms popping up all the time, but the sort of, more stabilizing of the market, and the platforms that have already been existing, maybe raising more money, facilitating more projects, and so on. Now, the, let's say, most active period in terms of new platforms being founded was between 2013 and 2016. So 69% of the platforms have been founded in these 3 years. You can we have a number of such graphs on trends in our report. So I definitely encourage you to go more in detail on these figures and trends when you have a chance to go through our report. So there was at all, the projects in total that have been successfully fundraised in the past decade or so are 3,633. So soon there could be nearly 4,000 projects that were funded using the method of real estate crowdfunding. I think that's pretty impressive. When we started with our research on the various markets here at BrikkApp, we honestly thought the number would be lower. We are pretty impressed at how, also specifically the UK and Irish markets are active. Now, my colleague George was previously showing you the European context. So for comparison, this means that 27% of all projects in Europe were facilitated by British or Irish platforms. So it shows how active this market really is. Now, this means that the total volume of all funded projects was nearly £2 billion. Again, It might be just me, but I think this number is pretty impressive, and it's growing. You can see that it's accelerating, and we forecast that this acceleration will be even faster in the coming years. Now again, what it means in comparison with Europe. So it means that 28% of all investments in Europe were done through UK or Irish platforms. Now, of course, this is a big number, but sometimes it's a little hard to imagine something under that. So we included here also a specific figure for the average value per project. So that is the amount of money that is being fundraised per project on average. And in the UK, that's about £500,000. Of course, there are projects that are smaller. There are projects that are much bigger, of course. But the averages, can provide you at least a little bit of an idea of what type of investments we are talking about. Now, we have seen the sort of mosaic of logos in the beginning. So there were 29 active platforms. Here we have selected, based on our research, the 5 largest platforms by the amount that was fundraised through those platforms. So you can see that based on that metric, the top 5 are Congress, Social Money Limited, Proud Property, Cufflink, and Propland. Again, this is just one example of the type of information you can find in the report. And here we have the statistics on the type of projects in terms of debt or equity offered by the platforms. There are 18 platforms. So again, here we are talking about the active platforms, right? So 18 platforms offer debt investments only. 5 platforms offer equity investments only, and 6 platforms offer both type of investments. It really depends, of course, on your personal preference, what type of investor you are, or what investment strategy you have in mind. It is important to know, right, before going to another platform, to sort of have the full idea of what type of investments you might be making. So this can be one way of deciding. I'm not saying the only way, by far not, but one way of deciding which platform might be more suitable for your investment goals. Now, another way of deciding, especially if you're new to property crowdfunding, so another sort of criteria for your decision on where to invest might be the minimum amount of investment. Quite often, when people are trying a new platform, sort of testing the water, seeing if it's something for them, it might be fairly important to know how much they are required to invest as a minimum. So there are about 1/3 of platforms where the minimum investment is 100 or 200 pounds. So that's fairly favorable to beginners because, of course, it's not an amount that would somehow be limiting anyone when they are starting with such an option. But you can also see that the platforms are really varied. So more than 45% of platforms have a minimum that is more than 500, and 1 out of 5 platforms have a minimum that is more than 1,000, and in many cases that means several thousands at least, and in some cases even much more. So at BrikkApp, we also provide this information to our users because our users are absolutely different, right, at different stages of their investment journey, with different amounts of capital that they are planning to invest. In some cases, it's not even a question of, the, let's say, ultimate amount of money that they are planning to invest, but just, having the opportunity at the beginning to sort of, get familiar with new platform without yet committing too much. So this is on the platform's minimum investment that we have researched. Now, I have included the average yield actually as the last number for a reason, because we quite often feel that this is a number that investors look at first, and it might, in some cases, mislead them a little bit. We definitely encourage anyone to look at a more complex set of criteria than an average or the yield of the specific investment. But of course, it is extremely interesting to know what is the average yield from all the platforms and investment opportunities that have taken place on the market. This is, how we arrived at the 10.1 or 10.14%. This is from all the investments, the more than 3,600 investments that have taken place. So this is their average yield. Now, again, to put this into a context, the average yield of projects in Europe, of course, including the UK, is 8.9%. So you guys a little bit higher than Europe in general. Now, let's have a look at what this means in terms of the active platforms in UK and Ireland. You can see that the average yields by platform vary a lot. Keep in mind that the various platforms have different focuses. They are offering different types of opportunities. And of course, as a rule of thumb, the higher the yield, the higher the risk. I'm not saying that it's a direct link, but of course, there is a correlation. You can have a look at this in more detail in our report, sort of, study the specific details per each platform. So this is just a little bit of a teaser, what you can find. So I would like to now I'll encourage you to go to the BrikkApp.com/UKR2021. We will be sharing the link both here at the webinar and also, of course, in the follow-up. I'm super excited right now to announce that our 2021 UK and Irish property crowdfunding report is live. You can also find many more key insights there that have not been mentioned here at this event yet. So you can also find the opinions from the industry leaders. So when we say industry leader, we mean typically the CEOs of many of the British crowdfunding platforms and their opinions on what to expect is going on or will be going on the British market in the coming year. You can find a detailed overview of all the active platforms and further comprehensive analysis of the market, many more statistics and aggregate numbers, and important information also on regulation.
What I have already talked about during the Q&A session is that very soon we'll be in cooperation with some of the other real estate crowdfunding platform, opening the investment marketplace to again make the investment process for our users and for the general public, general audience easier, and that users can invest through BrikkApp in more investment opportunities in different countries and on different markets. And that what we see is really needed to bring for the user that they can divide and their investments and diversify even regionally on the European market, what we feel it's really crucial and really important to bring. So I would really like to thank you all for participating at the launch of our report. If you want to get back to your report and you have not registered yet to BrikkApp, I suggest to register there. In our dashboard, you are going to have the access to our reports forever. All the reports are listed there in the resources section. So it's not only about the UK report, but the other reports we've created there as well, or our ebook, How to Get Started at Real Estate Crowdfunding. There are other functionalities as the crowd scanner or more, and you can use our crowd scanner to compare and discover the real estate crowdfunding market. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to meet you in our further sessions or further webinars, or if you want to keep in touch, you can use our contact email, or you can contact us through our dashboard. Thank you very much.
As Hunter said, we encourage you to keep in touch. We are also really active on social media. We try to share tips on investing. We have various advice also on our blog. We have a learn section on our website. So especially, I would say to those who are more new to still this investment option, that might be a great place where to get started. All right, many thanks and see you soon.
All right, well, I guess it's my turn to thank you all for being here. We hope you enjoyed our insights into the real estate crowdfunding market, and we hope to see you next time for the doc report.